Hey, everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 530, and we are going to jump into answering your questions. We got a couple of announcements, but first, want to say hi to the guys. Got a couple things we want to cover real quick. First of all, Chris, how you doing today?
Been good, super busy year as usual this time of the year. Yeah, that's it.
Fair enough, fair enough. Bradley, how about you? How are things going?
Good, man. Busy as hell, but it's been stupid cold down in top of this mountain in southwestern Virginia. I was supposed to be in Alabama, but I wasn't able to go because of cold issues that caused a bunch of plumbing problems that I had to resolve, which I finally got resolved just in time for it to go to 0 degrees. It was -2 degrees this morning, and it was like a -9 or -10 feel like, so it was like with the wind chill or feels like or whatever, it was like -9 or 10, but it was -2 degrees when I got up this morning. It's been like that this entire week. The high today is 25, and that's a balmy 25 because
That's
yesterday the high was 16 degrees. So it's been awful, but due to all the kind of plumbing issues that I created myself from not properly winterizing my RV uh, a few weeks ago, I got all that shit resolved, and I've made it through the last three nights without having any freezing pipes or anything, even in 0 degree weather. So apparently, there's a silver lining to all that mess that I had to go through for a couple weeks, and that is now it's been fixed to where I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. So, but it's been stupid cold, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I'm envious. It's 13 here, and I'm on the way to the airport, and I am definitely feeling it. So yeah, just parked at the airport, and it's like, you know what? I think it's time for some warmer climate. So that's what I'm on my way to do, and hopefully you get to do that eventually, Bradley.
So you're going to San Diego?
Yep, yep.
That's awesome,
So
man.
yeah,
I'm
a little
jealous.
work, a little fun, but yeah, getting to visit a friend and do some work on the road. So I'll be back home. I think it's going to be 30 degrees up here when we get back. So that, like you said, that's going to seem nice and toasty.
Yeah, no kidding. Right
Well,
on.
yeah, before we get into questions, I wanted to remind people or let people know if they haven't heard, haven't seen. Bradley recorded a great series of videos. There's 3 videos in total. And we have got the link. I'll drop the link in a minute on the page. But next week, Monday, 9 a.m., Directory Hybrid Agency Phase 1 training is going to be open for enrollment. So the way that works is you basically reserve a spot to talk to Bradley. That's not a sales call. It's nothing. It's making sure it's a good fit. If that doesn't work out, you don't like it, Bradley doesn't think it's a good fit for you, then either one can say, hey, this isn't a great fit, but otherwise that just goes towards the cost of the DHA program. And we do have limited seats. It's limited to 25 this time. We're expanding it out a little bit. And that is only going to be available from Monday at 9 a.m. to midnight on Friday. So like I said, I'm going to drop the links to the videos. We want to make sure you have a chance to watch this. Regardless of whether you decide to join the DHA training program, these videos are worth watching. And Bradley, I'll just kind of turn it over to you real quick if you want to talk about the videos or about DHA real quick.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the phase one program that kind of launch sequence is about the phase one program, which is building the prospecting and marketing machine, the directory, et cetera. That's where you develop your brands, determine which industry you're going to select, then develop the brands, build the director, start setting up the email system, which there's a lot that goes into that. But again, I've got it all laid out, step-by-step tutorials, plus coaching and all that stuff to help any kind of nobody that joins the program will have any problems with getting set up because you have full SOPs that walk you through it step by step. It's very, very detailed. This is now the third round of this. So each time a new group goes through it, we add a little bit more detail to the SOPs because somebody always, inevitably always finds something that wasn't real clear. And so I end up going in and adding more detail. So it's more clear for the next round. So they're really polished SOPs. And besides that, you also have access to me on a daily basis for an hour. Whether you can attend live or not, it doesn't matter. You can still pre-post your questions just like we do here at Hump Day Hangouts. So you will get your questions answered within one business day of whenever you post them. We have group accountability meetings, all of that. But it's a whole process for 12 weeks. It's intense, man. There's a lot to go through, but the whole point of me providing this as a kind of a separate program is so that a lot of people that have come into our mastermind and started to implement the SOPs, which is available to everybody in our mastermind. Just to be clear, any one of you guys can join the mastermind and get all the SOPs that I'm talking about, and you can go through and build the entire process yourself. It's for those of you that need the accountability and the extra hand holding and the additional technical support. which many of you do. None of you actually need it because the SOPs are so thorough that anybody can go through the SOPs and implement them. But many people need the accountability. They need somebody standing behind them, cracking the whip, kicking them in the ass, telling them what, to get off, keep making progress, that kind of stuff. And when you get stuck in technical setup, which is going to occur at times, then you have access to me for like immediate help, essentially. And so that's what that's for. But it is an intense program, but it's 3 weeks of kind of task assignments and then 1 week of catch up, and then 3 weeks of task assignments and 1 week of catch up. And that's what I found after the second round, is that was kind of a good schedule for people to be able to stay on track. The majority of people were able to finish within the allotted time frame. So the whole goal, though, is at the end of the 12-week program is you will have decided on an industry that you're going to spend the rest of your life working in. I'm just kidding. But you're going to be spending your time working in a particular industry, developing all the products and services, which we have front-end services that we're going to suggest that you promote, but developing them and kind of modifying them to be most appropriate for your selected industry, and then figuring out how that's going to start generating the leads consistently into your agency under the directory hybrid model, which is a combination of lead generation and traditional retainer-based services. So you're going to have steady and consistent leads coming into your agency within a particular industry so that you can develop all of the services and product offerings specific to that one industry so that you can scale much faster, because now you're going to create duplicatable, repeatable, scalable services that are going to be, they're systematized, right? So they're productized so that they can be duplicated and delivered with consistent quality and a consistent time frame. And that's the whole point, guys. That's why so many of the members that come join our mastermind and everything else are struggling, because they're doing custom work for every client, and everything is a different recipe of services and mix of marketing items and things like that. And it's so complex that it's very difficult for people to scale. And so the whole point of this is to develop a productized marketing and a productized agency that helps businesses grow in whatever industry. It's not all about marketing and SEO. It's about putting systems and building systems and processes into the client of so the businesses in the industry that you're working into, helping them develop systems, not that might lead with marketing, sure, but then what to do with those leads when they come in, how to follow up appropriately, how to nurture those leads appropriately, how to retarget those leads, how to generate more business from existing customers, generate reviews from new and past customers. There's all these things that we can build into the business to make us a lot more valuable to the business, other than just a lead generator or an SEO, where we can be replaced by the next guy that can pitch the same services for a lesser price. Instead, we become trusted business advisors. And so the whole phase one program is really about the start of that DHA, your own directory hybrid agency, where I'm going to literally hold your hand through the process to make sure that you get the front end part of it set up. And in phase two, which we will be launching sometime later in February, will be the first round of phase two. That's only for graduates of phase one, but that is the sales and fulfillment phase. And that's a 6-week program versus a 12-week program. But it's all about how to sell and then fulfill on those front end services that we talk about in the phase one program, which are really 3 foundational elements that most local businesses need in order to have the proper presence, but many of them do not. So we talk about local lead generation sites, Google Business Basic SEO, Google Business SEO, but it's the basic level, which is very simple. And then review management. So review generation and management. Those are all functions of high level. So those are 3 kind of services that we sell and pitch on the front end that are guaranteed deliverables. They're not guaranteed results. So it helps the businesses that we're selling to have the foundational elements that is basically required to have a digital presence online anyways, for very inexpensive costs, so that we can sell them on something, close them, and start to develop a relationship with them to show them that we can deliver as promised, and have good communication with them, etc. And then it becomes so much easier to layer on and upsell additional marketing services, performance-based or results-based marketing services. But it becomes a lot easier if you develop all of your revenue on a lower kind of baseline, something that's easy, and it's easy for them to pay and they don't think about. So the DHA phase one program is all about that front end part of it. It's very, very important to get that set up properly, because if you don't have consistent leads coming in your agency, you can't book a lot of sales calls with it. That's where you kind of refine your sales process and figure out what is the most compelling in whatever industry. So it's a very intense program, but you're going to have all the training that you need and all the coaching that you need to get through it. If anybody's interested, fill out the form, go check out the page next week and put
Yep.
your deposit down, and I'll jump on a short call with you to make sure it's a good fit.
Outstanding. Cool. Well, thanks, Bradley. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more information coming out. Just mark the calendar Monday. If you're on the email list or you watch the YouTube channel or you're subscribed to it, at least you'll be hearing about it. If not, do one of those things, subscribe to the YouTube channel, go to semanticmastery.com, hop on the email list, one of those, or both while you're at it. So I think that's it for now, guys. Anything else, or time to jump into questions?
We got a lot of questions. Let's go ahead and jump into that.
All right.
I'm going to grab the screen. And Adam, I know you're traveling, man. So if you got to bounce, just do what you got to do, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to disappear. See you
man.
guys.
Okay, guys. So we got questions starting from 7 days ago. So we're just going to roll through these as we can. Hopefully we'll get through all of them today. We'll try. So we'll start with Usiung. What's up, buddy? He says, when using EMDs, since our brand name would be, see, you guys are seeing my screen. Okay. Excuse me. When seeing EMDs, since our brand name would be the EMD, target keyword / target keyword, should we reference that brand name in title, or would it create repetition when following the who you are, what you do, where you do it format? Well, okay, so an EMD is an exact match domain that typically when I think of an EMD, I'm thinking of a keyword based domain. So like, tree service grundyva.com, right? I'm located in Grundy, Virginia right now. So tree service grundyva.com or something like that would be an exact match domain. Technically, I guess when you buy a domain with the same name as your brand or the company name, that would be an exact brand match domain. But I just consider that a branded domain, not an EMD, Huzaifa. So I think there's some terminology that we may not be speaking with the same terms. And so when I think of EMD, I think of an exact keyword match domain. And that is not a branded domain. A branded domain is a branded domain where the domain is the same as the company name. Now, in my industry, the tree service industry, there is a lot of partial match brand names. When I say partial match brand names, I mean a brand name that has a keyword included. All right. So tree service, tree care, those are usually kind of the two keywords that are the two primary keywords that we see in tree service company names, is either tree care or tree service. There's others too, but it's usually one of those two. So I consider a brand domain as anything, and in a tree service industry, like for example, Felling Pro. Felling is a entity for tree removal or tree felling, but as it relates really to deforestation and logging and things like that. But it still means basically tree removal. It's kind of a variant. And so that's why I like to use that as a branded domain, because felling.pro means like tree removal pro. But it's a branded domain as opposed to an exact match domain, which would be tree removal pro or tree removal plus city, right? So tree removal, again, grundyva.com, that would be an exact match domain as I see it, right? A branded domain is felling pro. And then I could do something like Grundy is in Buchanan County. Looks like it would be Buchanan, but it's Buchanan County, Virginia. And so that's why I have a site that is buchanan.felling.pro, right? Because that is Buchanan County Felling Pro is essentially what that is saying. So to be clear, this is what I'm talking about, right? And now it looks funny because I'm zoomed in on it a little bit, but I just mentioned I'm in Grundy. So here is a site that is optimized for Buchanan County on the homepage and in Grundy on the underpage. And you can see the domain. So I consider this a branded domain because it's Buchanan Felling Pro, and the company's name is Buchanan Felling Pro. But it's not an EMD, because if it were an EMD, then it would say like treeservicegrundyva.com. Does that make sense? Or grundytreeservice.com or something like that. So to answer your question, the other part of that is, no, because you're talking about the domain versus the SEO title. You see what I'm saying? The SEO title is where I talk about entity or semantic triplet statements, which is where we're trying to create an entity association between who you are, that's the brand entity, what you do, the product or service entity, and where you do it. That's the location entity. Do you understand? That's the SEO title. That's not the domain. And so the branded domain, if you have a brand name in the domain, which is what I recommend, and then you have the brand, product or service, location in the SEO title, that's not duplication, right? It's the brand name being reinforced. So I hope that makes sense. Even if you used an exact match domain, so a keyword-based domain, you can still put a branded website on an exact match domain. And so, like, let's just say grundytreeservice.com, if I wanted to use that domain for this site, I could have, right? I would still have the name. I would still call it, in this case, the brand name is Buckin and Felling Pro. So that would be the brand name regardless of what the domain name is. And that's okay too. I've seen, you can have a branded, a company name that's on an exact match domain, so a keyword-based domain. The problem and why I don't like to use exact match domains, keyword-based exact match domains, is because that can trick over optimization trigger, like it can trigger or trip over optimization triggers, right? So in other words, it can trigger a filter for over optimization a lot easier when it's an exact match keyword-based domain, if that's clear. So I don't typically recommend it. I always recommend going with, and I've been talking about this for 10 years, no kidding. I mean, way, way back. 10 years ago, at least, I was talking about using branded domains instead of keyword-based domains. That all said, currently, because of the helpful content, or not the helpful content update, excuse me, the Google spam update from December 2024, so the 19th through the 26th, I've seen a lot of exact match domains showing up in the top of search results for local search queries right now, even when the backlink profiles and everything else show there's no reason that they should be ranking. So exact match domains, keyword-based domains are still, to this day, can produce a ranking benefit for sure. I don't like to use them because I always feel like there's going to be something that can cause them to not to perform as well. Plus, it's a little bit more challenging to optimize the site when you have an exact match domain because the keyword's in the domain already. And so you got to be more careful on how you optimize so that you don't over optimize. Hopefully that's clear. By the way, that whole kind of spam update from December 2024, there's been a lot of unintended consequences that have occurred because of that. One of them is seeing these exact match domain type sites ranking way better in local search. That's not going to last forever. Google typically does this where it will roll out some sort of big update. And this was one of the bigger on-page updates since the helpful content update. At least in my opinion, and according to the types of projects I work on, it was significant, this most recent update. And there was a lot of unintended consequences, which is normal, which means a lot of sites that shouldn't have been hit got hit, and a lot of sites that should have got hit got promoted. But that's normal. Like Google will start to dial it back and kind of turn it down a bit, like modify or manipulate what they did in order to try to reduce unintended consequences and dial up what they intended it to do. And it's just a process. It takes time, guys. And so, like I said, I don't expect the exact match keyword-based domains to continue to rank as well as they currently are right now. I feel like that is just something that occurred because of this spam update in December, which was about a month ago now, if that's clear. All right. So to answer your question, no, you want to constantly be speaking in semantic. Basically, you want to create entity associations in the SEO titles of top level pages. That's what we're doing. And that's why I always recommend that you include the brand name. Either you start with the brand name or end with the brand name, but that's why you're always creating an association with what you want Google to understand about the brand, right? All top level pages. If the brand name is present and you're optimizing for categories and topics, essentially entity based SEO, then you're going to have in the SEO title the brand name, which will always be associated with the product or service entity that you're optimizing for, and or the location entity that you're optimizing for. So it's constantly creating entity associations through the document titles, the SEO titles of web pages, right? Google is a document retrieval algorithm. Okay. Moving on. Huzaifa says purely for ranking manipulation purposes, is the tradition, excuse me, purely for ranking manipulation purposes. Is the traditional EMD with nothing else but the exact keyword, no dashes, more effective than EMD with something other than the keyword attached to it to make a brand name out of it? Well, again, Uzaifa, I think you're misunderstanding the way that I think of EMDs as keyword only. A branded domain is the brand name, which sometimes in my industry usually has a partial match keyword in there, like tree service, tree care. When I say partial match, it's because it doesn't have a location modifier, right? So an EMD in local SEO would be keyword plus location modifier, whatever that is. Typically, it's going to be a city, but that's an EMD. A branded domain In my industry, the tree service industry, oftentimes is a partial match domain because it has a keyword in it, which is usually tree care or tree service. Um, but not usually a location modifier. Okay. So again, I always recommend going with branded domains, not EMDs. But EMDs do still work well, and you can put a branded site onto an EMD. All right. And EMDs are ranking well right now, but I don't recommend using them. I personally don't want to use EMDs, just to be clear. All right. I prefer branded domains over that. James, does your SOP for ranking work in high comp locations? Most of your top ranking tree service examples are on low comp locations. Yes, James, but that is precisely because that is what I'm teaching in the DHA model, is to target low competition areas so that you can get results with less time and less resources, less investment of time, energy, money, etc. That is the whole purpose. That is why most of my Felling Pro sites are in low competition areas, because that is what I'm teaching, to target low competition areas. Will it work in high competition areas? Yes, it's the site structure that matters. It's the difference is, in more competitive areas, you're going to need more links. That's it. That's the difference, right? In areas that have higher competition, you're going to need to do more other SEO stuff, other SEO signals, which is a lot of off page, right? Build more brand authority, build more links. That's it. So I specifically target low competition areas because that's what I'm teaching, so that people can get results faster with less effort and less resources invested into ranking those assets. Then they can go monetize those assets and then invest money from that they're now generating from monetizing those assets in low competition areas. They can take a portion of that revenue and use it to start building links, investing into ranking the more competitive areas, right? Do you understand? It's about bootstrapping the using clients' money to boost your assets. That's precisely why it's called a hybrid agency, because it's a combination of local lead generation assets that you own and control as the agency and traditional retainer-based services. And when you start to sell retainer-based services, which, by the way, the local lead generation assets are used for sales tools to help you to sell your services, because you target the areas that are low competition areas where you've built these local lead generation assets that you didn't have to really invest any additional resources or money into, time, effort, money, etc., because they are low competition. They rank fairly well with, don't have to be 100% ranked, but as long as you got, half the pages ranking for half the search queries, etc., then you've now got something that you can point to on a sales call with companies that provide those same products or services in that area, because you can point to it and say, look, I've already got a site outranking you for your own products and services in your own service area or location, that I can do that for you too if you hire us to do marketing, SEO, it's lead gen, whatever, for you, and we will assign this site to you. Now you've got money coming in from retainer money from a client that you can use to build links to not only your assets, but like in that same area, but you can also take a portion of that money to build links to, again, additional assets that you have in other areas that are more competitive areas where you're going to need backlinks, etc. So the whole point is to target low competition areas first so that you can monetize those with little additional investment, if any. And then that's going to start to generate the revenue that you can use to invest in the more competitive areas where it is going to require some additional investment. Does that make sense? And so, yes, does it work? Of course it does. The only difference is you need to build more links in the more competitive areas and build more brand authority, etc. Hopefully that's clear. By the way, the local lead generation assets, when I build them, for the most part, they don't have GBPs. I've got some that I'm rebranding to Felling Pro brand, which had GBPs under other brand names. I'll give an example of that here in just a moment, because there's another question coming up that I'll kind of I'll show an example of that, where it was a GBP under a different brand name that has recently been rebranded to a Felling Pro. But what I'm teaching is to build local lead generation assets, so organic only assets that don't have GBPs associated with them. And so you can't really, it's difficult you can build brand authority without a GBP, but what we're trying to do is target low competition areas with organic only assets where we're not trying to build brand authority. We just want to rank the site. And then we use the site as a sales tool to then sell our services to companies in that area that provide those services. And then now we've got a site that we can assign to a project that has a Google business profile. And that's how we can start to build brand authority, right? And so I'm just pointing that out because there's like a number of ways that we can do this, but it definitely works in any sort of area. It's just how much additional off-page work needs to be done in order to rank. Okay, hopefully that's clear. All right, Alex says, "Hey, Bradley, we'll be signing up for your monthly links package soon for a client site I'm building. Do you have any suggestions on how to structure the site for a barbecue restaurant? I know how you do the home service ones, but I wanted to see if you had any suggestions for a restaurant. For example, create a page for each menu category, maybe. Thoughts?" No, I honestly have no idea how to optimize for a restaurant. I could probably sit down and think about it and try to map it out and do some research with Wikipedia and all that kind of stuff like I typically do in the kind of service area business type stuff. But I never have any demand for that. This is the first time anybody's asked me about site structure for a restaurant because I don't work in the food and beverage industries at all. There's just not enough money in it, in my opinion, unless you're working with high-end restaurants, like very high-end restaurants. It's just not really any, in my opinion, they just the leads aren't value like it's hard to charge marketing services for restaurants because they have small margins or slim margins unless it's the very high end restaurants. And so personally, I can't really give you any recommendations on that unless I thought through it, and I'm certainly not going to do that on a Hump Day Hangout while everybody's watching. So I apologize, Alex. I do think if you wanted to order a full SEO audit, I could attempt it. Just I would be very clear with you in the audit and just let you know that because I've got like for example, I just landed an agency client within the last month or so that does a ton of local businesses that have an e-com aspect included in their business and their website. So in other words, they're local businesses, but they also sell their products. They're a lot of these are product-based businesses, not service businesses. And I'm better at service type businesses because that's what I've spent most of my career working with when it comes to SEO, I mean. But I've recently landed an agency client that has a large portfolio of clients that are local businesses that are product-based businesses that also have an e-commerce element where they sell their products online. And they've ordered a number of audits from me, and I've had to be really clear right up front and say, listen, I can provide recommendations for on-page optimization for things like product categories and location pages for the local aspect of their business. But when it comes to like optimizing and doing and providing SEO tips and stuff for product optimization, I can't provide that to you because I don't do it. I'm not familiar with it, and I would be making it up. And they're okay with that. So we have an agreement that I provide the local SEO um, optimization recommendations, and then also things like product categories, which is that's no different than normal SEO. But product stuff and things like that I can't do. So something like restaurant SEO, um, and web design for restaurants and stuff. I don't have any good idea for that, Alex. And it's likely that whatever I would tell you wouldn't be valid because I'm not in that industry and there's no way I can test any of the things that I would mention to you. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, it's one of those things. If I don't know it, guys, I'm not going to fake it and tell you that I know it. I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't know anything about doing SEO for restaurants, especially when it comes to web design. Jamie says, when building a local website for a service area business, should the homepage target the county and include 5 location pages for cities within that county? Yeah, I mean, if that's the appropriate structure for the business, the templates that I use in my LOG sites are set up that way. But I've got a number of other types of sites that I built that are structured differently. I found that the hyperlocal sites where I target a county on the homepage and in any of the the supporting location pages, so the service area location pages, etc., all fall within that county. I found those perform really, really well. But I've also got a few other examples out there that I've been messing with where um, I've targeted like a region, so an actual location region that then has multiple cities and multiple counties within that region. So here's an example, like this one right here, not that one, this one here, Roanoke Felling Pro. This, if you read the homepage is optimized for Roanoke Valley, Virginia, which is it's a region. You can go to Wikipedia and look it up, and then it shows the counties and the communities, etc. All of these are cities that they're in multiple. There's 2 or 3 counties that these cities fall within, but all of these cities fall within the Roanoke Valley region of Virginia. Okay, I just last week had another one. Um, this one was this one is a much larger region. So this is a regional site, which by the way, I've got this up in Zootrix. This site is probably, I don't know, 2 months old maybe, and I've not really done anything with it. And so this is going back to the question that I answered a moment ago, where he was saying a lot of these areas are low competition areas. Well, there's some areas like, and some of my sites that don't, it's not, if they're not low competition, I just built them because I already had a lead buyer there, or a GBP there for under another brand or whatever. And so a lot of these search queries actually aren't all that low competition. But I've not really done anything with this either. And we still got some page one rankings. I've not done much with it, but this one is a much smaller region where these areas or these cities are all in it's a much smaller region than what the Hampton Roads, Virginia one is. So this one I set up, or I had my team build this for me, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe. Hampton Roads Felling Pro. Hampton Roads is a region out by Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Hampton, Newport News, all that area of Virginia, up by the ocean or whatever. And so this one has Virginia Beach, Williamsburg, Norfolk, Newport News, and Hampton. And those cities are spread out much further apart, right? And it's across multiple counties again. So this is a brand new site. I just actually sent it for indexing like 2 days ago, so I don't even think it's fully indexed yet. But this is another one of the ones. So whatever's most appropriate, that's how you want to build the structure. To get back to Jamie's question, it's not that you have to go with a county on the homepage and then any of the service area locations fall within that county. I just found that works really well for local sites, for tree service contractors, and they tend to perform. The more hyper local they are, the better they perform. The sites, I mean, if that's clear. That's just been my experience. But you can optimize for a region. So that's what I would recommend. One of our mastermind members just asked a question about saying that the city that the GBP is located in is right on the border of a county. So where like some of the service area falls into another county. And they were asking me a very similar question. Well, how do I optimize the homepage if the locations within their service area cover two counties? And I said, look at what the regional entity is at that point. And I'll just point this out because this is how we found it. The one that he was talking about was Dallas, Georgia, not Texas. And so I just sent in our mastermind community, I said, well, Dallas, Georgia is part of Paulding County, Georgia, but Paulding County, Georgia is part of Metro Atlanta, right? Which is that's the region. Metro Atlanta, which is also, again, if you click on tools, what links here, then hide transclusions, hide links, and click go. These are all entity variants that can be used for that term Metro Atlanta. Metro Atlanta is the Atlanta metropolitan area. Do you understand? That's a region that includes the city of Atlanta, but then adjacent counties too. And if we go back to the main page, it'll show you the communities within that region, if that makes sense. But what I'm saying is you can see that all of these are, like, I like to use the greater, so greater Atlanta, right? Or Atlanta Metro or Metro Atlanta. All of these are interchangeable that mean the same thing. It's the entity term for this region. The official region entity name is Metro Atlanta, right? That's the official name for this particular region. But these are all interchangeable synonyms that can be used in place of this. And so, again, that's why I was just giving you an example, because you can very quickly identify what areas the company wants to market within their service area, so to speak. Even storefront businesses can optimize their site like a service area business to get more exposure, more coverage in search. And so identify the locations that they want to target and find out what is the broadest location entity that is all inclusive of those locations that they claim are within their service area. Usually you can find out by what I just demonstrated here and get to the regional level. And that is usually what you want to optimize the homepage for then, is that region. Sometimes it might even be a state or even a multi-state region, right? Sometimes that may be the case depending on what the business does and where they do it. Hopefully that's clear. All right, moving on. Could you add more than 5 pages? You can add as many as you want. Again, that template that I use for tree service contractors is just because those are hyperlocal sites that tend to perform really well. The more hyperlocal, the better they perform with less links, etc. That's what I found. So, but I am testing with some more broader structures, as you can see here. This is brand new. I haven't started to do anything with this one yet, but I want to see how well I can rank in some of these cities with a site that is optimized for a fairly large region, the Hampton Roads area. Hopefully that's clear. All right, moving on. Sam says, do you show how to create a lead management app included as part of the mastermind? Yes. Do you provide snapshots? Yes. Or do we need to find our own developers? No. I have snapshots for service-based businesses Let me pause the screen. I'll give you an example. Well, let's just check here. I should have this. I'm in the Hampton Roads Felling Pro sub account right now. So let's go take a look at the opportunity pipeline for this. Now, this is a brand new site, but here is the leads pipeline. So this is how I have the app set up, snapshot set up, because again, most of the businesses that we do the DHA program for are service-based businesses. And so that's what I've got developed, just to be clear. If you're not in a service-based business, then you might want to change the pipeline stages, etc. But this is the app that I set up where the quote request comes in via either web form from the site. So in other words, let's go back to the Hampton Roads Felling Pro. If somebody clicks on this button here and then they fill out this form, that's going to automatically create an opportunity card in the quote request pipeline stage. Okay. So let me just, well, I'm not going to have all that on here, but let me see if I could just add a quick one. See, this is a brand new site. There's no contacts in it. Let me find one that's got, give me 1 second, guys, because I want to demonstrate this. We'll come in here. Stand by for a minute. All right. So this is one of my lead gen brands. And so this is the master brand account. So this is where all the leads from that brand come into this one account. And then I've got separate sub accounts for contractors, etc. That then there's an automation to push the lead from this sub account into the appropriate sub account for the contractor that's going to service that lead. So that's why you don't see any other of these 729 tree service leads in any of these other stages, because this is just a master account. This used as like a bucket to collect all of the leads from the different GBPs that I have for that brand, if that's clear. Then there's an automation that then pushes this contact to the appropriate sub account for whichever contractor is servicing that lead. Okay, hopefully that's clear. But anyways, now I can demonstrate, because there is there's contact cards here, or opportunity cards, excuse me, is when the either when the web form is submitted, like I just mentioned, or in this case, I have for most of my lead gen, well, all of my lead gen, and in most of my tree service contractors, we set up an answering service. Currently, I use Answer Connect. I have been since 2014. This is the company that I've been using for our 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year answering service. Then I have a Zap from this service that then pushes the contact record into high level as well. So whether we get a web form lead or a phone lead, all those leads come into here. So for example, if I scroll in here, this one was usually it says how it comes in, but I'm not sure why it doesn't say that, because sometimes it'll say web form lead, other times it'll say a phone lead. But in any case, all of the leads come in either through the phone call or through the web form. They get pushed in. It creates an opportunity card in the quote request column. At this point, it sends a notification to the contractor that they got a lead in that they need to reply to. So the contractor then comes into the app, whether it's on their phone or on a Chromebook. And I recommend to most of my tree guys to use the phone, or excuse me, to use a Chromebook for this, but it can be done on a phone. They click into the opportunity card. They call the contact. Then they click on book appointment. And from right here, they select, oh, God damn it. Must be because I don't have it set up in here. But there's two calendars. I'm just going to go back to the Hampton Roads one, just because I know that snapshot. Remember, that was just a master account. So that's not actually one of the sub accounts I use to distribute leads. That's why that's not set up. But in any case, when they come in here, they're going to add the opportunity card, and then they're going to select the calendar, right? There's two calendars. There's a quotes calendar and a jobs calendar. And so they select in that opportunity card which calendar they're going to. So if it's a quote, they're going to select the quotes calendar. And while they're talking to the contact, they're going to figure out what day and time is best. And then they're going to schedule it right there. Once they click schedule and hit save, it's going to automatically move that card into the quote scheduled stage. Then it sends a confirmation message, email, and SMS to the contact. So that's the consumer that's requesting the estimate. And then it sends a confirmation message to the contractor as well. Then the contractor goes out on the date scheduled for that job, and then they survey the job and they write up the estimate. And then they put in the opportunity card. And again, sorry, I don't have this set up in one that, in one of my, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to one of my lead buyers that I know it's set up properly. Now, in fact, let's go to this one. Right there. This is one of my tree contractors in Culpeper, Virginia. that does use the pipeline. Okay, so anyways, once the quote goes out, once they go out and look at the job, then here's an example. Then they put in the opportunity value the value of the estimate, the contract price for that job. Does that make sense? And then once they go out, survey the job, that's the quote request appointment that was created, and this sends notification reminders, by the way. It sends initially when it sends the confirmation message that the appointment's been scheduled. Then 24 hours ahead of time, it sends a appointment reminder to the contractor and to the consumer, SMS and email. And then 2 hours ahead of the scheduled appointment time, it sends a notification message, SMS and email to the consumer, and also an SMS to the contractor to remind them that they've got a quote scheduled, that they have to be a quote appointment in 2 hours. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Then when the contractor goes out, surveys the job, he then puts the value of the job, like this one you can see is $5,000, puts it in there, clicks update, and then moves the card to the proposal pending stage. They can either move the card manually, or they can select proposal pending from here and click update when they add the values. It's going to move it into the proposal pending. When it does then is 3 days later, it sends a reminder to the consumer. Hey, this is just a friendly reminder that we have a pending proposal for the tree service work that you had us prepare an estimate for. Kindly respond back to let us know if you accept the job or if you want to push it out to a later date, blah, blah, blah. And then I think another 2 or 3 days later, it sends another reminder. So it's a quote reminder to respond to the pending proposal or estimate. Then if they decide that they want to do the job, then they're going to call or reply back to the contractor and say, hey, yeah, we're ready to schedule this job. And so then they come right back into the opportunity card, click book update appointment, and then they're going to select tree service jobs. Then while they're talking to the prospect or the consumer, whatever, and then they're going to schedule the job appointment. And once they do that, it's going to move into the job scheduled stage. And it's the exact same sequence of reminders, confirmation message, 24 hours ahead and 2 hours ahead. And then once they're done, they mark it as complete, mark it as won and complete, and then it goes automatically out and sends the review request to the consumer to post a review. It's a very simple system that's set up, but it works very well for tree contractors. It's only a 5-stage pipeline, and I find it easy for most tree contractors. The younger ones, they use it. The older guys, they don't. Just to be clear, I've got a lot of tree contractors that are older guys and they just don't want to use. They don't want to use the app at all, and that's fine. But I have younger guys that do. And this is how I set it up because it's simple. It's a 5-stage pipeline. It's very simple to manage. Okay. And it can be done on a phone, but it's definitely easier on a Chromebook. Okay. Anyway, yes, all of that is available in the snapshots that I provide inside the mastermind. Moving on. Keith says, I have a client with a single shop location in a major city using the site structure of homepage optimized for brand name and single service page optimized for all service keywords. Do I need to have location pages? Searches are for service plus major city name and near me, not for regions of the city. Could I just optimize the service page for the major city as well? Thanks in advance. Yes. However, in that case, I would recommend, again, if you just go take a look at some of my sites, guys, you'll see what I mean. Like, I do recommend having a different page for each service. Even if, like, instead of one services page and you have all of your services listed, I found it to be more effective in local search if you have a separate page for each service. In this case, if you're only targeting one city and one city only, then you would just optimize each service page for the service plus city. That's it. Because you're only targeting one city. Where I don't recommend that is if, let's say that they were targeting 2 cities, even if they were adjacent to each other, if they were targeting 2 cities under older SEO tactics, which I still see most SEOs doing today in local SEO, they would have the service times city page for both cities. So they would have service times city 1 and service times city 2 for each service too. So they would have the redundancy, the duplication of the same stuff being said twice because there's 2 city pages. And that's, in that case, you would have one service page for each service and then one city page for each city with internal linking that associates those 2 together, right? The service with the cities and the city with the services. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but if you're only targeting one city on the site, one city only, then you could just do service times city for each of the services because it's only going to be one page on the site optimized for that service, but it also includes the location modifier because they're only after one city. You understand? So I'm just saying it seems to work better if you have separate service pages for each service, right? Because that becomes kind of its own standalone search query. And in that case, I would have it optimized for service times city because it's only targeting one city. So there wouldn't be redundancy and duplication on the site. It's whenever you have more than one city and you duplicate the service times city, it's the service stuff that's duplicated, just the cities change. And that's where, again, that's an outdated tactic that we shouldn't be doing anymore in local SEO, in my opinion. All right, hopefully that's clear. Moving on. Ben P says on TreeCareHQ, when you send a custom video and you don't get a response, how often should you follow up? Ben, is a great question. That's part of the reason we have gotten away from doing the custom videos, because there is a lot of no replies or no responses from that. And so that's a lot of wasted effort. In the mastermind, I talk about how you can do a universal welcome video, which is a generic video that explains how to read search grid reports, etc., and all of that. And then you just send them the search grid report. That is typically what I use as a way to kind of close them, to say, look, this is where you said you want to get jobs from. This is where you're actually getting jobs from. And it's like a couple of specks of green in this great big sea of red. And that's a great sale. That's a great way to pitch the services, right? You told us in our communication prior to us delivering the listing that your service area radius is 15 miles, right? That means 30 miles across from one end to the other. Well, that's where you said you want to get jobs from. This is where you're actually getting jobs from. And it's like a couple of little green spots in the middle of that big ass circle. And we show that to them, right? And so we can do that via screenshots now, which is what we built into our high level automations for the TreeCareHQ directory delivery sequence. So that is something that we are just testing now. We've got an AI app that's helping us to test this. Actually just turned on this week. But that is where we go through that process where we have screenshots created that show the desired service area, or what they claim is their service area, and then where they're actually ranking. Their Google Business Profile is ranking within that service area that they told us was their area. And it's very clear, very distinct, that shows this is where you say you want to rank or where you want to get jobs from, but this is where you're actually getting jobs from within that area. That's a problem. We can help you to get more job or get jobs from a larger area. Let's have a chat. But so I'm just pointing that out because, again, creating the custom videos is going to be it's effective. There's no question it's effective, but there's going to be a lot of videos that you create that don't even get watched, or even if they get watched, they'll never reply to you. And so again, it is an effective way. If you're desperate to land clients, it's a good way to start landing clients, especially if you're not comfortable talking to them directly, because then you can convey what you want to convey to them without them objecting or interrupting, etc., because you can do it in a video email. But you're going to get you're going to spend a lot of time recording videos that may never get watched or may never be replied to, even if they are watched. And I found it, again, it's not really scalable. It is a great way to get started, but in order to scale, you have to automate more of it, right? And that's where, again, I can, we don't have time. I'm not going to get in to show the actual sequence, but maybe next Wednesday, I'll take a few minutes and show you guys the sequence that we're doing, is what we call the delivery sequence. And that is where we identify a problem or introduce a problem to the client, to the prospect, excuse me. Then we agitate it and we show it very visually with 2 simple screenshots that we send to them via text message. So it's a short link that goes to a screenshot that shows where they told us their service area is, and then where they're actually getting jobs from Google within that area. And it's usually a stark difference, a huge sea of red with a couple of tiny specks of green in the middle. And we say, look, this is what you told us you wanted to get jobs from. This is where you're actually getting work from as far as Google is concerned. We can help you to solve that problem. Let's have a chat. When can you get on a call with us? That's how we do it. And so now we don't even do the videos, but VAs create the screenshots and put all of that in the high level contact record. And when they're done with the listing, they add a tag to the listing, and the high level automations send these notifications to the prospect saying, hey, your directory listing is ready. We'd like to get on a call with you to review it, make sure the information is correct before we publish it. It's already published, but they don't need to know that, right? We say we got to get on a call, and they're either going to book the call or they're going to ask a question. Well, why do I need to get on a call? When they ask the question, why do we need to get on a call? Then the response is, well, because we identified a problem while we were optimizing your listing that is preventing you from getting work in the areas that you say you want to get work from. We'd like to address that on the call. When can you book a call? They're either going to book the call or they're going to ask a question. Well, which problem did you identify? And then that's where the automation will come in and say, okay, well, this is where you said is your service area. It sends them a text message with a link to an image that is a circle that shows what they told us their service area is. And then here's where you're actually getting work from. And it sends them another text message with another link to another image that is the local search grid report in a circle that shows only the little tiny speck of green where they're actually getting leads from, and the rest is a sea of red. You're only getting work from the areas in green. If you'd like to learn how to get, if you'd like us to help you to get jobs in more of that area that you claimed was your service area, let's have a call. And so that's how we get them on the call. And again, this is all done automated through the automations in High Level. And we also have an AI app that helps to facilitate that. So the VAs create all that stuff now, and it doesn't require a video. So it's a much more scalable process. Okay. And that's what I'm teaching in the DHA program now. All right. Moving on. James says, got 10 more minutes. If we only wanted to build a single location lead gen site with no GBP and rent them for $99, would you recommend building out service pages or just listing all the services on the homepage? No. James, 100%. I just talked about this. I found it performs significantly better with separate service pages. Significantly better. I've got a number of sites out there that, let's see if I still have that one up. I don't know that I do. Lynchburg tree service. I talked about I don't like to use exact match domains. This was a test that I was doing a few years ago. See if it's still live. I think it is. I can't remember. I just had a LLG site created for this brand. No, maybe it was lynchburgtree.com. I bet it was. Give me a second. I think it was lynchburgtree.com. Yeah, this is still live. That's hard to believe. Let me check something, guys. It was ranking #1 for a long time, and I've never really done anything with this. This was a test. Yeah, see, it's still ranking #1 in organic search. There is a GBP with this, but I've never really done anything with it. This was I was testing some stuff using an exact match domain. That was intentional. I was testing something that Herc Magnus was teaching a few years ago with his was it Zagio plugin and all that stuff. Anyway, so this was just a test, but this was during that time I was building sites that were all the services were on the homepage and all they had were jump links. Like that's what this is. There aren't separate service pages on this site. These are jump links that go to the specific service sections, right? So arborist, tree care, tree maintenance, etc. And for a period of about, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years, that's how I built all of my tree service sites, where the homepage was basically just a list of the services with jump links in the menu to the specific section of the page. And then we would also create location pages and then link to the jump links within the location pages for each of those services. And that worked really well for a couple of years, but sometime, I think it was around the helpful content update, is when I saw all of those sites start to decline in ranking for the most part. This one, because it's an exact match domain, it still ranks well in organic search, if that makes sense. Which, by the way, I had another, we were just talking about this, Lynchburg.felling.pro, because this is another site that I just had built in the last 2 or 3 weeks that will replace this site, because I do have a GBP for this, but it only has 1 review, and I've still got some things I got to fix on this site. But this one is another one that is targeting a region on the homepage. Lynchburg, Virginia metropolitan area. So that's the Lynchburg metro area. And then these are all cities that fall within the Lynchburg metro area, but they're in different counties. And that's why the homepage wasn't optimized for a county. It was optimized for the Lynchburg, Virginia metro area. But there is a city of Lynchburg, which actually, in this particular case, because I wanted to test it, I wanted to see if we optimized the homepage for Lynchburg metro area, if we could also rank the homepage for Lynchburg. So that's why that's not one of the cities in the service area, because again, this is another test, guys. I'm still testing in my own industry with these site structures. Just to be clear, guys, I told you guys I found like the best performing structure, and that is the county homepage with 5 or whatever, however many service pages, but all of the, or excuse me, location pages, but all of the locations are within that county. That is still the best performing structure that I've tested so far in the tree service industry. But that doesn't mean I'm not testing other structures. As I just showed you guys today, I've got a few different structures where I'm testing regional elements on the homepage. So anyway, hopefully that's clear. Anyway, to get back to the question, the answer is no. The sites perform way better if they have individual service pages. Okay. All right, moving on. Next one. Hey Bradley, is your consulting service on semantic links only for assistance with the DHA model, or is it for Q&A? You can consulting. We can We can use it any which way you want. It's your time. You're paying for it. So if it's just you're buying time from me, you can ask me anything that you want on a consulting session. It's not about DHA anyways. Semantic links is typically consulting through that is for questions about link building or SEO consulting, SEO consulting for client work for my agency clients. They ask me to help them. That's typically what that's for, but I don't care. You can come buy consulting time from me at Semantic Links and ask me anything you want, dude. It's your money. You're paying for my time and my honesty during that time. So, let's keep it professional. But other than that, yeah, you can ask me anything you want on those calls. It's entirely up to you how we use that time. All right. Seb says, how do you get more reviews on your Google business profile in 2025? You send the consumers that have purchased products or services from that company a review request. It's pretty simple. I'm not picking on you, Seb. I don't use fake reviews at all anymore. I don't recommend anybody do that, period. You can get in legal trouble for it, or you can be sued for it. I highly recommend you don't do fake reviews. So if that's what you're asking about, I don't do fake reviews anymore. But we do send review requests, even from lead generation properties. When we sell leads, if another company does the job, because of how I have everything set up in high level, I still get a review request sent out from the GBP, my lead gen GBP, to the client, the consumer. And you'll see, I'd have to go find some examples of it, but some of my reviews on my GBPs, like the consumer that left the review even states, the subcontractor that they sent out was fantastic, and they'll state the company's name. For example, in Culpeper, this is one of my tree service contractors in Culpeper, but I have another one called Jake Butler. He's an older gentleman. He's a really good guy, though. Really, he's an arborist, certified arborist, really sharp guy. He's really good at his job, at what he does, tree work and everything else. And all the time, I get reviews posted on my lead gen assets that he buys leads from that says, Jake, this company, meaning the lead gen company, sent Jake Butler out to do to remove my tree, and he was fantastic. He was super knowledgeable, super nice guy, and all that kind of stuff. And so it says their name right in the reviews on my lead gen assets. But that's by design. I don't buy reviews anymore, and I haven't for many years, for several years now anyway. All right, Ramon says, when someone books a meeting through your directory, should the confirmation email for their appointment be sent from your main directory email or the main directory email? Yeah, so all of my high-level communications come from tech@treecarehq.com, which is the workspace account integrated with high-level, and I use that for transactional emails and communications with contacts who have come through. Cold email outreach is done through Instantly, but then as soon as we get a reply from the cold email outreach, that contact is zapped into high-level through a webhook, and then we pick up the conversation in high-level using the tech@treecarehq.com workspace email, which is integrated with high-level. All right, moving on. In GSC or Google Search Console, the HTTP version of my homepage is showing as indexed and appears in Google when I click repeat the search with omitted results included. However, HTTP version redirects to the HTTPS version correctly. How do I fix this, and is it a big deal? No, just remove HTTP from Google Search Console. It doesn't matter. If the redirect is set up properly, which it should be, it will automatically always redirect. So just get rid of it. Either just add your domain. I like to use the URL prefix in Search Console, so I will add the HTTPS version, because then, especially like with, again, if we look at things like Felling Pro, if I add the domain in, then I have to look at all pages for all subdomain sites. And so I have separate Search Console instances for each of the subdomain sites. So I use the URL prefix version of it, but just get rid of the HTTP version of it. You don't need to track that. If it's auto redirecting to the HTTPS, which it should, then there's no reason to even track that. All right. No, just again, use the URL prefix option and add the URL with the HTTPS version, and that's all you need. Okay, full stop. Rob says, do you think that a handful of .edu and .org links are useful for a site's foundational links with brand anchors? No, not really. Years ago, I would have said that, but are the links coming from relevant sources? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't really care about .edus, .orgs, whatever. It's about relevance. Or can you publish those posts on relevant? Is the content of the post should be relevant. If you have control over what's being posted, it should be relevant. But where are you posting that content? Right? I recommend trying to find relevant sites. Now, if you can find relevant EDU blogs and .orgs and things to then post that content on, yes, do it. But I don't care what the domain extension is. I care about whether it's relevant or not. Hopefully that's clear. All right, it's 5 o'clock, guys. I think I got one more, and then I'm going to look at comments. So we'll wrap this up in just a couple of minutes. I will stick around just long enough to answer any comments if there are any. Last one, it says hidden knowledge. He says, say I'm trying to take the correct approach to this digital asset. I don't know if I should keep them as one-off websites or I should take it a hybrid directory approach or a combination of the two. It's in the transportation niche as I've dabbled with limo and party bus, but this is for another vertical in the space. The niche is Sprinter van rental. I have a domain for it in a couple of cities, but let's just say Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. How would you approach this? I would the same thing that I've been teaching is I would Sprinter van rental. Hey man, that's very niche. That's great, man. You could build an entire business around that. And I would do something like what I was showing you here, right? You pick one domain that is a branding domain that has some sort of entity variance in the name is what I recommend. That's precisely what I did here. And then you would create subdomains for each of the locations that you want to target. And and I don't, because I'm not from, I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with that industry because I have done some link building for white label clients that have clients in the, um, transportation industries, bus sales, limos, limo rental services, Sprinter and party bus, all that. I've been in various kind of done link building, but my point is you can either optimize individual sites on a state level, which I think is too broad, or you can optimize individual sites at a county level, a city level, county level, or regional level, which is what I've been demonstrating on today's call. Right? I've got multiple variations of that. Most of my sites are optimized for a particular county on the homepage. And then the cities within the service area are cities within that county. But I also have other examples where I'm targeting regions on the homepage. And then I have another example that I never finished building that site, but I have another test that I plan on doing, which is where it's one city being targeted. So the homepage is optimized for the city, and then the supporting location pages are for sections or neighborhoods within the city. So it doesn't, like, what I would recommend for that question is to pick a brand name and then you build the subdomain sites for each of the locations you want to target. Because why is because when you start, you can build a lot of authority to the root domain, which will transfer to subdomains automatically, especially when you got it. It doesn't have to be, this is just a directory page on the home site, the root domain. So the home page of this is just a directory page, but you could have a full-blown site on the branded root domain and then just have a menu item that would take you to a page that would be a directory of subdomain locations, essentially, if that's clear. I cheated because I didn't want to build a whole site on this domain. So I just have this is the directory on the root. But you could have a full-on domain site build out on the root domain and that talks about the services, who the company is, how to contact them, etc., and then have locations or service areas, whatever in the menu that would take them to a page that is just a directory of subdomain sites. That's clear. It's just an efficient way to build because you build authority to this domain through any links built directly to the root or from any of the subdomains. All of that, the parent domain inherits the link equity and relevance from the subdomains, and vice versa. The subdomains inherit that from the parent domain. So it's a great way to kind of reduce costs over time because you build more authority to the domain, which builds brand strength, and that's important. Okay, great question. All right, guys, I got to wrap it up. So I'm going to look at comments very quickly, and then we're going to kill it for the day. Let's see. Omizi says, do you still use the GMB checklist for your website builds, even though you don't necessarily go for GMBs, GBPs? Well, yeah, I mean, I use SOPs. That way, and yes, we use SOPs for everything because that is how we know that the quality is consistent, right? We have an SOP. So let me just demonstrate this, guys. I'm going to go into Flowster. So for example, in Flowster or in our mastermind, if this will work, I cleared the cache in my browser and it's been acting funny ever since. Oh, come on, for God's sakes. All right, well, there it goes. All right. So if we come in here, I'll show you an example of, for example, the Google Business Profile Optimization. SOP, that's this. And you guys see what we have here are like it's essentially a checklist. It's a standard operating procedure with every one of the steps are checkable so that a VA can go in and execute this, and they literally have to check these items off as they complete them before they can check off at a full test. Like, for example, if I come in and I try to check that module off, it's going to say it won't allow me to check it off because the checklist items down here have not been checked off. So this is how we get consistency and scalability, right? Because we know that no shortcuts are being taken, no steps are being missed, because it's the same SOP every time it gets executed, right? So this is for GBP optimization. What about if we go back and take a look at the LLG site deployment, right? So this is an example, right? This is an example of, look, this is one, just to show you, let me back up for a minute. If we go into this, let me show you. You see that is my assistant, Harleen, who builds these sites. These sites here that I'm showing you, I trained her via SOP, these same SOPs that are available in the Directory Hybrid Agency program. So you can see I assigned that to her, like this one here, and then my executive assistant, Hazel. Harleen is her sister. Harleen is the project manager for LLG sites, etc. So anyways, you can see how she comes in here and checks off the things as she's doing them. You see, this is a perfect example. When I assign her an SOP or workflow, I assign her a workflow from the SOP, and then she comes in and she checks these off as she's completing those items. That way we know that everything is done properly and it's consistent. There's no shortcuts being taken, anything. And again, that's how you scale, guys. Build processes like this. Then you can delegate this to as many people as you want. And that's how you're able to scale without it being you doing the work all the time, right? Hopefully that's clear. And yes, we always follow a checklist. How did you come up with Felling Pro as the branding? Because I was doing entity research and I found Felling, the entity, which basically means tree removal. And I just went to Namecheap and searched for felling.pro. I looked for felling.com, .net, .org, etc. But felling.pro was available, and I was like, dude, that means tree removal pro. That's perfect. I love how short and succinct it is. And it means tree removal pro, right? It's perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And I bought the domain for whatever the cost of normal registration for a .pro domain is. And I love that domain because it's short and succinct and it has an entity in the name, but it's also a branding name, Felling Pro. So that's why I said, look, do top category and topic research in whatever industry you select. And then you can, through that process, you can typically find a good entity variant for a related entity that you can create a brand name around. That's what I was trying to explain in that when I answered that question about it. EMDs and brands. Love your content and approaches. Trains of thought with DC says, I love your content and approaches. Do you think building out the Q&A section in GMB with top people also ask relevant questions has SEO value? Probably, most likely, yes, but I've not tested that. I think it's a valid test, though. Trains of thought. I would do it if I were you, just to test with it. It wouldn't take too long to set that up on a particular GBP. Do it once and track. See, does it improve performance? If so, then duplicate it again on another or a handful of other GBPs and see, does it produce similar results? If so, you're on to something. And you know to then work that into your process. Okay. Crypto says, can I do this for an insurance company? Yes, you can. This will work for any type of business, guys. Any type of service-based business, and that doesn't have to be a service area business either. Like, you can set up a local business storefront type of a business website as a service area business so that you get larger coverage in local search. And so, yeah, absolutely, it'll work for an insurance agency. Okay. Can you use the Google site since she is an agent for a big insurance company that gives her a boilerplate with them? Yeah, and I do, by the way, just so you know, Crypto, that's a great question because I've done some white label SEO work for one of my white label agency clients who started targeting financial advisors, and they have very strict rules, and especially when the financial, like our Allstate or progressive, like insurance agents where they're part of a franchise, there's very strict regulations for how, like the companies like Allstate and stuff, and how you can even reference and link to their website, their landing page that they have, like on the Allstate domain, for example. They're very strict about, like, they give you literally a PDF that says this is how you have to when you reference and link to this page on our site, you have to do it using the specific language and all this kind of stuff. It's a real pain in the ass. And after trying to accommodate these stupid rules, I finally told the client, look, I don't want to do this white label work anymore. I recommend that you find a different industry to target, or else I'm not going to be able to provide the services anymore, because your problem as a retail agency should not be the white label wholesale agency's problem. That is a retail agency problem, and you're not going to make it my problem. As a wholesale agency, we're about speed and efficiency, right? And so I'm just pointing this out because an alternative is where you, and by the way, also, like in my own local SEO agency, when I work with tree service contractor who has a nice website, meaning they had an expensive website designed, and they don't want to substitute or replace it with one of my ugly but effective lead gen sites. And when that's the case, I tell them, like, fine, that's fine. I'm not going to touch your existing website because I don't work on other people's websites. Full stop. I will provide recommendations on how to optimize it better that then the webmaster can execute. But I do not work on other people's websites. If we don't build them, I don't work on them. Full stop. I don't want to touch other people's work because you have to know all the different plugins and all. I'm not doing it. I'm at a point in my career I don't want to do it anymore. You either work with my website, or I will provide your webmaster with instructions on how to optimize it better so that it will respond to the SEO work that I'm doing well. Or in the event that that's not possible, then we will build an external site. And usually we use sites.google.com, so Google Sites, to do that, where then we mirror the primary structure of their website. We teach this in the mastermind into a Google site, but then we make the corrections that the main website has problems that we don't have access to fix, or the client is unwilling to fix. Then we make those corrections in the Google site that is linked to, and most of the time has the main multi-site pages embedded into the G site. But then the G site becomes the primary link building target that we focus most of our SEO efforts on, if that makes sense. And it's not as good as doing it directly on the main website, but it is an alternative when that event occurs. So yes, it can be done with a Google site. That is what we do, specifically when we don't have access to the main website, or they're not willing to have changes made that we request. Okay. All right, guys, I'm done. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate everybody sticking around for a little bit. We do have a Build with Bradley meeting tomorrow, so I'll see some of you guys tomorrow. Otherwise, guys, be on the lookout. The DHA launched. It will be in session next week. Highly encourage you to check it out if any of this sounds interesting. Thanks, everybody. See you later.